Cloud is one of very hottest technology nowadays in the market. Every organization adopting it, and also they are migrating their on-premises resources to the cloud. When you migrate your resource over the cloud, you may face the accessibility problem as well. Not right now once you do the migration, but yes, after some time or during the migration, you will face the problem. So take an example, you moved your server from on-premises to the cloud, and the OS after after a week or a month or a year, right? There is some challenge. Your system is showing healthy over the console, but it's not accessible over the network. So when I say not accessible over the network, so there may be some network problem and the port problem, security group, which you verified and it's absolutely fine. There is no problem with the network or the security group. So how will you try identify those issues, and how can you take the console or do the troubleshooting of your operating system? So today's this is the first session of troubleshooting, and I'm going to talk about AWS Session Manager. AWS Session Manager is one of very good or good options in AWS, right? Which you can use to troubleshoot your operating system problems. So, in which cases you can use the Session Manager? There are some cases. Take an example. You deployed a virtual machine with the key pair and you lost it. System is showing healthy, but it's not accessible over the network, and you have to log in with the local user account into the uh, operating system, right? This is one of the problem. And if it is Windows Server, you have joined into the domain and trust relationship failed, and you lost the key as well. You already lost it, and you have to log in into the server with the local account so that you can rejoin the system into the domain. So there are several cases when your session manager will help you to identify the problem and troubleshoot the issues. Okay, if I compare with your on premises, the troubleshooting in on premises is very much like easy. In your vCenter, you simply go log in into your vCenter, identify or search your VMware virtual machine, and take the console. Once you take the console, you can simply log in into inside your virtual machine and troubleshoot the problems. But on AWS, there is a bit difference. In on premises, you can take the GUI mode like graphic user interface, and you can do the troubleshooting. But in AWS doesn't provide the graphic mode as a local system. But yes, the command like you can get your uh, get the console of your virtual machine and operate it with the CLI mode. Okay, so we'll talk about all these options, and before moving ahead, we'll see what all benefits Session Manager provide to us. The first thing, it provides the centralized access control to instance using IAM policy. So what you have to do is when you are going to take the console of your virtual machine, so you have to create the IAM policy. Why I'm telling the IAM policy? So let's go into the console. This is your virtual machine, and take an example. Just take a scenario, right? You lost the key of this EC2 Windows system, and you want to do some troubleshooting. So how will you do the troubleshooting? How can you log in into the system? So there is options available which is known as connect, right? What you have to do is select your virtual machine, click on the connect. The moment you click on the connect, it open a different browser or console which is showing to connect your virtual machine. There are two options. One is the session manager, other one is the RDP client. And the OS is healthy but not accessible over the network. Maybe there is some someone has disabled the RDP connections, RDP services on the systems, and after disabling RDP connections, it's not accessible. Or system is healthy but it's not accessible over the network. Maybe there may be several cases. Or your Windows system is part of domain and trust relationship failed. Now you cannot log in with your domain user, and you lost key. Now you have to log in with the local account. So there are several cases. So in such cases, we cannot use the RDP client. I have to log in with the local user account into my system. How can I do that? So AWS provide options to use the session manager. Okay. So just understand. So let me draw a picture for you. So session manager, this is your virtual machine and this is a session manager. Session manager is a different service. I'm drawing this one. Session manager is a different service and your virtual machine is a different service. Okay. Both are different resource in the AWS. Now, when we try to access one resource by the other resource, we use policy. What we have to do is now here I'm saying I can take the console of this virtual machine with the help of session manager. But does your session manager have access on this virtual machine? No. Both are separate identity. They cannot access each other until unless you provide the permission. How will you provide the permission? Definitely. In such cases, when we talk about the access policy or permissions, we use the IAM, Identity and Access Management. So I will create a role under IAM and attach a policy, create some policy, and give access to my session manager to control this virtual machine. Okay. So this is what it is saying. So when you are going to use the session manager, there is some prerequisite which you have to follow. Okay. That is the reason this there is prerequisite. It's not completed. That is the reason you are saying here warning message. So there are several process you have to follow first. The first, SSM agent isn't installed on your virtual machine. So once you allow your session manager to control your virtual machine, what does session manager do? Session manager just insert an agent on your virtual machine so that it can control or access your virtual machine. So currently it is not installed because session manager does not have access. The second, once agent install, it require the IAM profile or IAM permissions to control your virtual machine. Okay. For more information, you can click on prerequisites. So I have already opened it. You can go through with the prerequisite here. Okay. So first thing, you can refer this article or you can go into this console and click here. You will get the options available here. So this is the first options what you have to take care of it. So you have to create the IAM policy. And the second option is administer administrator have a single place to grant and revoke access to instance. So from a single place you can manage all your virtual machine. No need to open inbound port and no need to manage bastion host to or Ssh Key. What does it mean by? Let's talk about one by one. So it is saying you need not to open the port. So let's talk about the this one first. So when you are accessing your VM from the session manager, there is no port required. But if you are accessing your VM from your on-premises, then it requires 3389 port to be open at the virtual machine security group site. But here you do not require the port to be opened. Second thing, no need to manage bastion host. What is bastion host? So if your virtual machine under the private subnet and if you want to access over the internet, like there is an internet and somebody is trying to access this virtual machine, so if you allow your virtual machine to attach the public IP address to your virtual machine, that is exposed to everyone, and you really do not want to do this. So what you will do, you first deploy your virtual machine into the private subnet, and you will deploy a different virtual machine which is known as your bastion host, and this virtual machine will be into the public subnet. Okay, so it will get a public IP address, and with this public IP, what you will do, you will connect to this bastion host, and from the bastion host you will connect to this virtual machine. So from this bastion to virtual machine, you have to open a port. Okay, So this is the use of Bastion host. If you are not in VPN and you want to control or access your virtual machine, you have to use the Bastion host. Okay. The next options is or SSH key, definitely that key, whatever the key you have used and deploy your virtual machine, you have to like if it is Windows Server or if it is Unix, so you have to use the SSH key to access your virtual machine. And with if you are using the session manager, then there is no need of this particular point. Okay. One click access to instance from the console and CLI. What does it mean by? So if you are going to connect your virtual machine with the session manager, if it is enable all the prerequisites or fulfilled, then you have to click collect connect and you will get the access of your virtual machine. The next, cross platform. Cross platform, when it means it supports Windows and Linux as well. Logging and auditing session activity. So if you are trying to access your virtual machine with the session manager, so how will you monitor, right, who is connecting your virtual machine and from where it is connected? So it provides the full logging and the like the session activity recorded over the console. So we'll go one by one and show these options. So this is what all offers or the benefits AWS Session Manager provide to you. So let's go and do the practical. So the first thing, we have to fulfill the prerequisite. So what I have to do is I have to create a IAM role first. So I'll go into the IAM and I will create a IAM role here. So you have to select your service EC2. It should be the EC2. Okay. Or if you want to check session manager, there is no session manager options available. So select the EC2, click on next. Don't create the policy right now, we'll create it later. Next, next, give a name, session manager, and description. This role allow session manager to take console of EC2. Now role is created. Now what I have to do is I have to create the policy now. So let me click here and go into the policy. So what policy you will what permission you will give your session manager. So go into your create custom role like prerequisite page. Okay. And you can, this is the policy available. You can use this policy. So if you go into the policy, you can see create console channel, create data channel, open control channel, open data channel. So this is one of the policies available. And if you want to give permissions, creating an instance profile with permission for session manager and Amazon S3 and CloudWatch log console. So you can use this option. So it give the better options it creates the logs and everything. So I will use these options to create the policy. So let's go into the policy, create a policy here, go into the JSON and review, give the name session manager policy. This policy will allow session manager role to get access on EC2. So you can see the summary, what all permissions you are going to give to your session manager and create the policy. Policy is created, click on the policy or go directly into the rules, and then this is your session manager rules. Click on attach policy and type the name session manager. It is not showing, so just refresh it, select it and then attach. So my two requests is fulfilled. So I have first created a IAM role, and then I have created a policy, and I attach the policy to the IAM. Now what I have to do is I have to attach this role to the EC2 instance, okay, which I want to control from the session manager. So let me go to the console and EC2, cancel this page, click on your virtual machine, and then go in the action into the security, modify IAM role, and now click the IAM role what you have created. Here it is in the last session manager, and save it. So now you have applied the role to the your virtual machine. So how does it work? Let me clear this and create again a page. So this is your virtual machine, and this is your session manager, and you have created a IAM role here. Okay, so you have created a role, IAM role, and you have attached a policy with it. Fine. So this is IAM role, and you name it session manager, and this is a policy, session manager policy. So this policy apply to the IAM role, and this IAM role is applied to virtual machine. Okay, so when you go into the policy, you will see it is saying create in give the permissions to your here it is. So create control channel, create data channel. So it is talking about this. So now the policy is applied here. So once your session manager will try to call to your virtual machine or try to access the console, this policy will say to virtual machine, yes, this resource is allowed to take the control on you. So now the AWS will give access to manage your virtual machine from the session manager. So the policy is attached. Now refresh the page one time, and then select your virtual machine, click on the connect. It is uh, searching, so getting the status. You can see this time it is not showing any warning, or not it is telling about the follow the prerequisite, because the prerequisite is already fulfilled. So if you want, I can go back again, and as you know, I have applied the policy only on Windows machine, not on the Linux machine. So if I try to connect the Linux machine, what happened? It will show you the warning because the IAM role is not applied to the virtual machine, and AWS identify, okay, session manager is not allowed to take the console of this virtual machine. You can see here. And once I give the permissions to this virtual machine, like I'll go into the instance state, sorry, action, security, modify IAM role. It's browsing. It is still not showing for it. So it's okay. So let's refresh it and give some time. Meanwhile, it is refreshing. I'll connect the Windows server. Click on Windows, connect it, and connect. The moment you click on connect, it open a new browser. Okay, and you can see it is mentioned here the session manager into the browser, and it is showing the instance ID of your virtual machine. Now here you go, it opened the command prompt of your virtual machine. As you see, it did not ask the credential to you. The moment you click on the connect, it open a different terminal. It open a terminal in different browser, and now you can access your virtual machine. You can type the command here, and you can search. So since it is opened into the PowerShell, if you aware of the PowerShell command, you can do all the activity with the PowerShell script. Okay, so this is how you can manage this. If you want to use disk part, I'm showing some of the options. You can see list disk. It will give you the full control on your virtual machine, but the difference is in on-premises you will have access in GUI mode, and in AWS you have access in the graphic mode, in the command prompt mode, and you have to manage your virtual machine with the command prompt. And if you want to monitor who has access this, you want to see the logs like the session manager log. What you have to do, you have to go into the session manager. How can you open it? Click on the service and select here session manager, search it, and then you can open. The moment you open, it will take you into this console. All right, so here you have to, this is a system manager, and under system manager there are several options available, right? So one of the options is session manager. You have to search the session manager. I'll click here, it is session manager. Now you can see it is saying one session, and session ID is established with the account root. If you have allowed any user to access, it will show the width or user ID or username of that particular person. You can see IM, here an IM with the account number and plus the ID root, and which instance IM user root connected. It is showing the instance ID as well, the date as well, and the status is connected. If you want to go into the session history, you can see if there is some like virtual machine few days back, like a day back or a week back or a month back, you have you took the console, right, the session, so you can verify who did this and when it was happened. And also you saw the status, so that I terminated all the virtual machine. Okay, so now I will go into my console again, and I will try to connect my Linux system. So I connected. Now you can see, right? It's also showing to connect. So let's click on the connect. And the moment you connect it, click on the connect, it will open a different terminal for you to control your Linux virtual machine as well. So on the Windows, let's go back to the Windows till the time it's connecting. Exit from here and CLS, clear the page. And I'm trying to install some some tools like web services on our Windows server. So let's type command install. Okay, it is install Windows. Feature name would be web. You can click enter. So you can see it is collecting data, and it will do the installation on your Windows server with the web IAS features. It is saying the name is invalid. So what will be the name? Let's verify from here. Okay, it is a web server, not web. So here it is, web server. Let's try. Here it is completed. Okay, so this is how you can manage your Windows server, and there are several options like command available, PowerShell command, which you can use to troubleshoot your operating system. And if I go back to our Linux system, so you can see this is also uh, accessible here. I can type ls, it will show all the directory, clear it, and if you know the command, right? So since I'm the Windows person, so I'm not well aware of it, but I can try one yum install httpd. Let's see. It is saying this is the root command sudo su. So guys, I'm not as I said, I'm not the Linux guy, so it's a bit like challenging for me this operating system. But yeah, so you can manage your Linux operating system as well by using Linux command, and yes, so that is how you can manage your operating system if there is any issue, right? So Windows you can manage with the PowerShell, and Linux you can manage the Linux command, whatever it is. So guys, that's all for today's, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Please share, subscribe, and like my channel. And also guys, do not forget to share this video on your WhatsApp group. Thank you.